Okay, so on this edition of Outdoor Zombies, what I'm going to be doing is trying out what's called a hot tent, El Cheapo hot tent, to use the title that Really Big Monkey won on YouTube. I'll put his link down below, is where I got the idea. I seen him use it, and the idea seems like a potentially good one. Is it safe? Probably no more safe or unsafe than having a wood stove inside of a tent. This one is a lot lighter. It involves using a welder's blanket, which is good up to 1,000 Fahrenheit. The key with this hot tent and the fire is it's just a small fire. You can't have any sort of raging fire. We're just talking about sticks, just enough to build up some coals, no big flames, nothing like that. This is just strictly for small fires. I don't recommend you try this without testing it. That's what I'm doing here. I have a test shelter built in the backyard here. Even though I've seen it work on YouTube, of course I'm not going to go out in the woods and try it for the first time. So I'll show you what I did. So what I have here right now is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stakes. In the woods you're not going to have lumber like that. You'll just use sticks. You'll probably end up having to use more. On the video that I've seen on YouTube, they're using around 10 sticks, and the idea is I'm going to drape the fire blanket over those sticks, and then I'm going to create a mantle with another piece of fire blanket that'll go across the top there. I'll give you a close-up of this in a moment. I picked up this fire blanket at Princess Auto. It was on sale for like 11 bucks. It was a 4x6. I had no other use for this, so me cutting it up wasn't a waste. So as you can see, I got it draped over those pegs and have the lip out here a bit, just so nothing gets underneath. I am going to get some rocks. Same thing I would do in the woods. Got that right there. So let's go inside and take a look how it looks inside. Okay, so this is how it looks inside so far. Like I said, this is going to be a small fire. I emphasize small fire. And it's not very large in here. It'd be enough for one person, and that's all I would be making it for. So I'm just going to use some wood. And I'm going to wrap the mantle in that. Or wrap the fire blanket in that and make the mantle. Go. And this, there, so it's not hanging down, we'll go right there. Okay, so I have the tarp clamped off here and here. Now, let me just say this. If I was going to take the size of tarp that I have here out with me, along with this blanket and these clips, and into my rest of my gear, we're talking about a heavy pack. So this is probably more of a car camping, canoe camping, pulk sled, if you're pulling your gear out. Now, with that said, I'm probably not going to be doing any of these the first time I use this. I'll probably pack it out. So, the tarp won't be as big. I'm not using the same tarp. That's if this passes several tests. I'm going to be measuring the temperature of this, of inside there, and run the fire several times in several different conditions, wind, and if it passes all those tests, then I will take it camping with me. But until then, it's a radical idea, or Radical from what I'm used to. That is. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do now is just cover that bottom there with some rocks. Let's do that first. Now, when I go to light the fire, I'm not going to have it right up against the fire blanket, nor am I going to have it underneath the mantle. It's just going to be centered as much as possible here. If it does happen to produce heat under the mantle, it'll be fine. Like I said, it's just going to be a tiny fire, so it's not going to produce a lot of. I mean, I shouldn't say it shouldn't. Let me take that back. It may produce a lot of heat, but the mantle will protect it. So I thought I'd save you the excitement of watching me put the rest of the rocks down. So there's the rocks I'm going to have in front of the fire. See if we can dip the camera down into the shelter. And this is not about the shelter. This is just a test shelter I set up in the backyard. So now I'm going to go inside in a moment, get a fire going. Now, as far as the tinfoil, it's really, I don't have it there because I'm worried about anything catching on fire, other than the wood, of course. I want it as a reflector, as I said earlier. Now, I did put some tinfoil, as you can see here, on the mantle part, which underneath this is the fire blanket. It is covering a bit of the tarp, but like I said, the fire is going to be out in the open. But I just wanted to play it extra safe. So next thing is to let's see what the temperature inside my little teepee is. Let's turn on the light here. And what are we seeing here? So it's actually below 0. This thing's not accurate. It feels colder than 0. So but for argument's sake, it's 0 degrees. And I'm not going to measure the temp. I'll measure the temperature standing up, but really that's not where I'd spend most of my time. It'll be down on ground level. So I will measure the temperature down here. I'll give the fire a chance to start up. Now, like I said, I will not take this setup out into the woods until I've done several tests. One will be with wind, rain, which I'm sure I'm going to get. Now, I might put a little awning up at the top to cover the fire, but like right near the top of the teepee shelter, and so that way this stays lit. Now, all the smoke is going out, as you can see there. So the fire's been going about 10 minutes now. The only thing you want to try to avoid is I think like pine. It's going to produce more sparks. But like I said, even if the fire is small like that, if it does spark up, it's not going to hurt anything. And that's as big as, let me just zoom in on this. That's as big as this fire is going to get. that I'm going to allow it to get. And if I was sleeping in this, I'd have my head, I'd probably be laying parallel to the fire. But so far so good. Just wanted to, gosh, I wish I had a way to measure the temperature. I don't have a, aside from just a standalone thermometer, I can't laser measure this, but I'm putting my hand on the tin foil here. And is it hot? Nope. Is it warm? Nope. Is it cool? Yes, it is. No joke. Because it's reflecting the heat. Because I tried the same thing when we were camping with a campfire, and aside from soot getting on it, the tinfoil didn't burn. Now this is heavy duty tinfoil. That might make a difference. I'm sure it does. And the back is cool because it's reflecting the heat. It is starting to, there's starting some coals are starting to develop, so right here I can comfortably keep my hand. Right there, it's hot. So keep it going for a couple hours, I think. I don't know if you can see any smoke coming up there. There you go. So that's what it looks like from the outside. And none of this is warm at all. Like I said, I think the tin foil is definitely a good idea. But I guess once I build up a whole nice bed of coals and it starts producing some really good heat, then I'm gonna see how that tin foil fares. The key is to only put in sticks about maybe a hand length long, a couple fingers width. Yes, you'll be feeding it more, but if you really want to be safe and control this, that's how to do it. And yeah, it is producing some good heat. More than my last update. Now, my question that I'd love to have answered today, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen as far as wind. How is this going to be in the wind? Now, it has a natural wind protection from the fire blanket, but I mean, we all know how wind swirls around, and you know, will I get smoke blowing into the shelter? Well, that's definitely going to be tested this week. Okay, so we got more of a fire going. I decided to take my girlfriend out for supper, so I picked up a bag of chips in the house and a Pepsi that we can share. Mm. Yeah.
Living large.
Yeah, living large. But yeah, I think it's going to work. But like I was saying earlier, I want to test it. I want to come out here when it's windy to see how it handles the wind. Like, I'm not worried about the tarp catching on fire or anything like that. Tin foil is not even warm. It's reflecting any heat. The stuff that I have underneath the tarp there. So, yeah, I think it's going to be good. Yeah, I can feel heat at this distance. Like when I put my hands up. And that's about, what, 3 feet? This is cozy. There's now lots of coals on the fire, and it's producing. It's cold out. It's probably got dipped down to -5. The thermometer's not working, so I can't really tell you how warm it is in here. Not as warm as you'd think it should be, and the reason for that is that I have a 7-foot tall teepee, and which I wouldn't build out camping. It would be much lower, probably just enough to sit up in, so I don't know, 40 inches, something like that. 28 would be too low, but 40 inches high would be ideal. But if I had a pillow right now, I certainly wouldn't sleep by the fire like this, but even when now with the fire going and I'm putting my hand on the tin foil here. Now remember, under this tin foil is a fire blanket, but it's totally reflecting the heat. Now if you look at other people that have built these online, and there's not a lot on YouTube, no one's using tin foil, and they've had no problems. So, but I'm going to have to back away from this because it is getting now very, very warm. So until next time, I'd like you to subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to build up my subscriber list. I haven't really worked on it since I've had the channel, but now I really want to up the subscriber list. So if you like the channel and you think someone else would, share it, please. I'd really appreciate that. And until next time, happy trails.